Comrades 2023 down run. Prior to Comrades, in February 2023, I'd run the Tarawera 102 kilometre ultramarathon in New Zealand. I'd finished that race and broken 20 hours, but I'd had a very difficult day out. My preparation hadn't been the best, and I knew if I entered Comrades in the same state I entered Tarawera, I'd be a DNF. Now, I had my heart set at Comrades for a bronze medal, and I knew I'd have to prepare better just to finish, let alone get a bronze medal. So I went about that in a workmanlike fashion. I lost a bit of weight, I got stronger, and I prepared pretty well. The only thing that was missing was that previous to Tarawera, I'd had some health issues, and that had caused me to not run for a bit, and I'd lost a lot of pace. I hadn't got that pace back, and it meant that my cruise pace was going to be slower, and that would make it harder to sneak under the 11-hour mark for a bronze medal, or even the 12-hour mark to finish if I couldn't get my act together properly. So I prepared with that. Then, of course, I had the lucky break. Comrades announced it was going to be the shortest down run in living history, 87.7 kilometres, 2.4 kilometres shorter than 28. So heading into the race, there were a few positives. Well, I'd run 6 tough ultras since my first down run in 2018, and the durations range from 10 hours to 19 hours. That made me a vastly more experienced campaigner than my first attempt at the down run, which actually was my first proper ultramarathon. Another positive, my training had been solid for this event, so I'd done the work. But on the negative, well, Father Time, I was 5 years older, wasn't I? So I was pretty confident I could finish under 12 hours. The question was, could I get a bronze medal? And this issue over my pace was a real question mark on whether I'd be able to do that. Now, I flew over, and actually the flight went all right, and I actually felt all right when I got there. So that was a pretty good start, because it was actually a 27-hour trip from Melbourne. Now, we were staying in Durban for this one, so I caught the bus up. Had to get up at stupid o'clock, 1 a.m. I think it was. Get a shuttle from the hotel to where the buses were leaving, then get on a bus and up you go. So no worries, up at the start, in the dark, etc. Then eventually the race starts. And off we go into the Pietermaritzburg dark. So so my plan was to walk the hills, right? And that's the way to get a bronze medal. But in Pietermaritzburg, I made sure I just ran all the hills, because I started in batch C with a charity entry. Now, there are a lot of faster runners around me and faster runners behind me as well in batch D. So I was mindful if I stopped to walk, I'd just create more problems for other people. So I just ran there, which obviously I was capable of. And eventually we got the poly shorts. The sun started coming up, so that was good. Probably 10 to 15K in, that's when people stopped passing me, and I was around with my people. Now, I would say as an aside, of the people who passed me, there are probably 2 groups. Those groups who are naturally faster than me, and we're going to go on and finish at a faster time than I could manage. And of course then, the group which I refer to as Comrades Heroes, who take off from the start, running as fast as they can, or seemingly, and then run into big trouble down the road because they haven't paced themselves properly. So that's my tip for you if you're watching. Don't be a Comrades hero. Set yourself for what you can do for the day. On that note, that was my plan. So walk the hills, and also start off at an easy pace, what I call a run all day pace, and then just try not to slow down. So pretty simple strategy. I'd looked at my 2018 splits, and based on how I knew I went, I then adjusted around them to try and come up with what seemed sensible for me. So, and to then get this bronze medal, which of course I'd had my heart set on for some time. I was targeting the bronze because the calculators on my marathon time always said that I was more than capable of that. Now does seem to be an issue for Australians who come across. I don't know whether it's a flight, or maybe it's the fact that we run our marathons on the flat at sea level generally in very benign weather, and that causes us to run faster times, which means we can't convert as well. But Australians do tend to struggle with the conversion South Africans use, and I know I have personally. But anyway, I'm supposed to be able to break 11, so I'm going to give it a crack. Now, plan was to come through Cato Ridge, which was 30.3 kilometres at 3 hours 35. I actually came through at 3 hours 39, which was a bit of a surprise. I was 4 minutes behind. And it showed to me that actually in 2018, I thought I'd started pretty easily. But bear in mind, I started behind where I had in 2023, and I'd still got there significantly faster. Showed that I'd actually run quite quickly in the beginning, which for those who haven't watched my 2018 things, might show why I had problems later on. But anyway, so scenery was great. Etambemi School for the Disabled, I went past, the kids are out there and you can high-five them. That was fantastic. And I really enjoyed all that. And at that stage of Comrades, you're running well and you're having a great time. So things got more interesting when I got to Inchanga, the edge of the knife, as it translates. Now, this was where my race got tough in 2018, and I looked at it now as where the race begins. So I stuck to my plan. I walked up Inchanga, and that went pretty well. Did that, stuck to the task, and got to the crest, feeling strong, and job done there. And then confidently and happily ran down into Drummond, which is, of course, traditional halfway. And the crowd there was going crazy. It was fantastic. A real Comrades, the essence of Comrades, and great moment to do that, feeling strong, knowing you got a long way to go, but still feeling okay. So that was good, of course. So after Drummond, then you head to Alveston. Now this is where things get really serious. No one likes to climb up to Alveston, and I can tell you why. It's horrible. So on the map, I guess it looks like a long, gentle climb. And that's what I was expecting. Bear in mind, it's been a few years since I've done it. But actually, it's a series of short, steep climbs with small flat bits or the occasional down bit in between. And it really is a grind. So I stuck to my plan, run, walk the whole way. And that was going okay at first. But by the time as I approached the crest, I was now starting to struggle and feeling the impact of the many kilometres that I had in my legs until now. So came through that, and then we came to Kearnsey School there, and that's very well known that the boys put on a show for the Comrades runners. I would say supposedly, because 2018 and 2019, I can't remember them. If they did anything, they weren't there when I was there. So this time, though, they formed this wonderful, call it a corridor of honour, that the runners ran through, and you really did feel like an elite runner. It was fantastic. So kudos to the lads there. It was great. And I got an extra boost running through there. And straight away, then you find yourself in Bothers Hill on a big descent. Now, I had done a bit of work to improve my down running, my technique more than anything. There was a steep descent, steepish descent here near where I live, and I practiced that a few times and got better to. The point about technique is if you can limit the impact on your legs, then you'll be able to cope better with the overall distance, because if you blow your quads on one of these big downs that they have in Comrades, your race might be over there and then. So you don't want that to happen. So I was a bit better at that, and that went pretty well. Now, there was something else now as well. I talked earlier, I'd done all these ultras in between my Comrades. What I hadn't appreciated was that trail ultras, you are going a lot slower, and you can digest a lot more food on Comrades. So I'd changed what I'd taken. I'd taken food that I normally eat on a trail ultra, and not the sort of food that you would eat on a marathon. But Comrades, for my digestion at least, is more like a traditional marathon, and thus I couldn't eat the sandwiches I was picking up along the way. So that was a big problem, And even the 32 GI gels I had, eventually they became a problem. And I could only eat the conventional gels, which I didn't have as many of as I would have liked and needed. So I found myself surviving on the salted oranges from the tables and the Coke, which was not a good thing, and it really put me in a bad way. So from that, I'm now really starting to feel the pinch. Things are getting tough. The 11 hours still looks possible, but I'm finding it really hard. And I could see, 2018, I infamously ended up finishing with less than 3 minutes to spare, just to get my Vic Clapham medal. And so this time going for the bronze, I seem to be heading towards the cutoff, and it's looking like it's going to be tight. Even now with 40, 30 odd Ks to go, whatever it is, it's starting to look like that's the way it's going, and quite the worry for me there. So I came through the Winston Park cutoff. This is 57.7 kilometres in 7 hours and 5 minutes. Now my target was 7 hours and 12, so that's actually pretty good and shows a nice little buffer there, and things are okay. But bear in mind that the other side of that buffer, there's not much. The times were planned on a 10 hours 59 finish. So I'd taken the concept that I wouldn't have much extra capacity and therefore had to aim for a very tight finish. So now things are really getting tough. I've got to run just under 8-minute Ks. I'm looking at my watch every kilometre, and it's tough. It's hurting. I'm tired. I just feel terrible. I've got my nutrition wrong. Bucket that up completely, really, but I've just got to keep going. It looks like the bronze is on the edge of the knife. I really want this, but now it's looking hard. And I'm wondering where Fields Hill is. There's so many downs. I think it was one of those downs, Fields Hill, and I didn't recognise it. I don't know. It's a number of years since I was here. I don't live here. Which one's Fields Hill? I seem to be going a long way. Haven't come to it. One of the 11-hour pacer groups passes me. I think, okay, that's cool. There'll be a few more behind me. But I know it's tight if one group's passing me. Yep, 23 Ks to go. Fields Hill. Great. So I run down there. 2018, I took a walk break or two. I didn't bother this time. It just hurt to walk as well back in 2018, so why bother? Just ran down, didn't bomb. Tried to manage my technique as best I could, so I didn't put load on my quads, and that actually went really well. 3 kilometre descent, Fields Hill. And just kept going. Now, I did notice around this point that the race is supposed to be 87.7 kilometres. According to my GPS, normally measures short. Obviously, race distance officially measured is more accurate than your wrist GPS. So, okay, but now I'm projecting about 88.2 at the moment. So logic says that I have probably not run the shortest route here, and I'm actually adding extra meters, of which I'm going to get no credit for. It's a point-to-point race. So there's no bonus for that, so I need to stop doing that. So, okay, what can I do? I decided with the corners I could run corner to corner and not run in the vehicle lanes. Now, there is a bit of a price to pay in the Durban area if you do that. There's quite a significant camber in the road. So if you're doing that, you're running across the camber. Depending on your state of your legs, you may or may not be able to handle that. But I actually was. So I did that. And when the race was over, I ran 88.0 kilometres. So I took off about 200 metres. Now, based on the pace I was running through that period of the race, that's about 100 seconds. Okay, well, hardly worth doing, Trev. That's not much. Okay, well, remember the 100 seconds. We'll come back to that later. Now, so therefore, I came through Pinetown, 68.8 kilometres in 8 hours 31. Now, my target there was 8 hours 33. So my margin's reduced, but you can see I'm finding it tough. Like it's a battle, but bronze medal's still on. So you beaut, away we go. We'll say something about the crowds. You know, most of the route has got people on them and they're all cheering. It's just fantastic. It is an incredible experience. And the difficulty is, of course, you're really struggling. It's hard to interact much. I didn't take many photos through this section of the race. I just focused on getting the job done and give people the occasional wave. And if you get a Aussie, you know, I'm probably lucky to get a finger or a hand or something like that from me, just to wave back and just keep going in your own mental pit, really. So went up Cowie's Hill, had to pick up a food there. Just walked up Cowie's by that stage. The run walk had gone by then. I just couldn't do it. So did that, caught up with the great Barry Holland. I'd seen Barry earlier in the race, had a selfie with him actually. And he was running with one of his mates. So Barry on this Comrades, he was going for his 49th finish. Now, I did think for a bit, maybe I could just hook on to Barry and his mate's shoulder and just run with them. The only reason I didn't is that Barry's got 48 medals already. His best time, 6 hours 30. I'm not sure how important getting a bronze medal on his 49th is. You know, I'd heard him on a podcast. He was talking about this was his stepping stone to 50. He didn't even talk about what sort of medal he'd get. He just talking about finishing. So I'm thinking, well, is he really going to care if he finishes 11 hours 5 or 10:55? I'm thinking maybe he won't. So I won't try and stick with Barry. I'll just do my own thing. And anyway, that's what I did. So at some point, the second 11-hour bus went past me, and they left me in their wake as well. But I just kept going. I wasn't too worried about that because I was targeting a very thin margin, under 11, and I knew buses tend to be a bit conservative because they need to guarantee the finish for their people. So they will target a thinner margin than I was doing. So, okay. Well, it was really becoming a grind now, looking at my pace every kilometre, seeing that I was on average. Now, around 76 Ks, I saw a big dude by the side of the road, my mate, Brad Nadauld. Now, Brad's one of the people behind the Coach Parry business. Obviously, he's not Coach Parry himself, but he's the IT and talking guy. And Brad and I have had a bit to do with each other. I was a guest on the podcast at one stage, and I met up with him in Cape Town 2019, and we've got to know each other pretty well and get on really well. So Brad was there as support for the Coach Parry crew, of guests which they consider me one of now. And so he saw me, ran with me for a bit, probably about 200 metres, and encouraged me, asked me how I was feeling. He said, "How are you feeling?" "Great." I said, "Yeah, let's go with that." Now, the reason why I said that is if you can't say anything negative, right? I was feeling horrible. But if I'd said that, my brain would have given me more horrible. So I pretended I wasn't as best I could. But what I did say to Brad is, look, I'm trying to get a bronze medal, but it's looking like it's not going to happen. And Brad said, no. The bronze medal is definitely on. I'm talking to you straight. It's definitely on. And that really encouraged me. So Brad stopped and went back to his group, and I kept going. I thought, okay, Brad says the bronze is on. The bronze is on. I've just got to keep doing what I'm doing. Don't give up here. This can happen. I've just got to pay the price. So I did that. I felt I needed to go faster. I just couldn't. The hills were tough. I was feeling terrible. It's the tail end of Comrades, no one's feeling great, but it was a serious battle. It seemed to me in my life, this was the chance to get a bronze medal. The route's never going to be as short as this. Okay, it had a preparation, might have had some issues in the very early days, but the rest of it had been rock solid. And what else do I need? This is it. I've got to take my chance. So I was trying to hang in there as best I could and get the job done. So then, lo and behold, what do we have? The third bus. So I figure there's only 3 buses, and now one of these turns up and rounds me up, basically. I mean, they were on a different run-walk cycle to me. It was just easier to let them go. I had a plan. Also, regular viewers might know, I'm not a particular fan of pacing buses. I like to run at my own pace. I set my agenda. I'm relying on me. I'm not relying on the person leading the pacing group who I don't know anything about. I'm far more interested in doing my own thing than following someone who I don't know what their plan is, and it may not fit my training program. So there we go. So I'm getting there. It's a grind. At one point I'm thinking, like, why on earth am I doing this? Why did I decide to do this to challenge myself? What a stupid idea. Like, well, I don't know. And I actually came up and said, I could have come up with eating hamburgers in a beer garden to challenge myself rather than doing this. So there I am. Okay, 2Ks to go. Last aid station. I see another Aussie in front of me. And I'm thinking, okay, mate, this is what you need. You can just run up there, talk to your countrymen and go, okay, mate, you and I are going to run together to the end and get our bronze medals. That's what we're going to do here. Show these South Africans what Aussies are made of. Yeah, except as I get there, he takes off from the aid station and off he goes, go get his medal. And I'm not in a state to catch him. I've got to get a drink from the aid station myself, and I'm just behind. So it's just too hard. I can't do that. That idea's gone. Just got to keep going. So grind out the next kilometre. I can see the lights on the famous Kingsmead cricket ground. It's supposed to be 2K, under 2K. It looks like 10. I can't believe it. Like, it just doesn't seem to be moving. If anything, it just seems to get further away. I'm thinking, well, how am I going to get there? I feel terrible. There's not much time to go now, and I don't seem to be making any progress. All the 11-hour buses have passed me. I'm in the dead zone behind the last one. If I'm going to make this, it's, by the skin of my teeth. Then we come to the ramp. Now, I remember this ramp. There was actually a photographer on it in 2018, so I've got a photograph there of me on that ramp. And I come to this ramp. It's 1 kilometre to Kingsmead. And it still looks a long way. And I just think, you know what? I just can't do this. I'm just not going to do it. I had to walk up the ramp. I'm like, okay, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to give up. I'm going to walk from here to Kingsmead, and I'm going to get my Vic Clapham medal, because this is beyond me. I can't do it. Not today. Maybe not ever. I just can't do it. That's it. I'm done. I've given up. I'm not giving up. I have given up, and I'm not doing this. That's it. It's over. So I decided that, and then there's probably a couple of seconds later, I remembered last time in 2018, there were all my friends and family watching the tracker in Australia and wherever they were around the world. And they were all willing me to finish. I just thought, all these friends, they just want you to do this, mate. And all you got to do is just put in, if you can find something to put in a little bit more, for them. And I thought, you know what? Okay, I'll run down this ramp just for a bit and do that for them. That's what I'll do. And if I finish 11:01 or whatever, 11:02, whatever, I finish then. But I'll run down the ramp and do that. Now, interestingly, so obviously your brain's not working too well at this point, right? You're 10 hours 50 something into an ultra marathon that has just been a grind for hour upon hour. And I guess I knew, so the other thing I didn't say is that very strangely, at about with 2K to go, I was rounded up by a very small fourth 11-hour pacing bus, who then left me behind. But I'm not sure what that group is. I'm still not sure today. It's sort of, I suspected it was maybe a group that had been dropped off one of the other groups. If they had 2 paces in an 11-hour group, maybe this is the second one. I'm not sure. But anyway, for whatever reason, this bus was there. It had a small group with them. And they weren't actually that far in front of me. So I ran down the ramp. I ran about 400 metres. And blow me down, suddenly I'm in the back of this bus. And then not only that, Kingsmead seemed to materialise in front of us. I'm in the back of a bus with 11 hours written on it, and all the people around me are starting to punch the air, saying they've done it. And bear in mind, I'd given up about 3 minutes before. And suddenly I think, is that all I had to do? You were going to give up, and that's all you had to do. You've done it. And then we literally ran into the ground. Kingsmead is going insane with the crowd on both sides of the track, like a race, with people screaming and yelling, and all of us runners going crazy. We're punching the air, beating our chest. Well, I was Mugler mode. And blow me down. We've done it. I've got my bronze medals coming. So I've just got to run to the end, and I'm running through the ground. It was actually because you're running circuit. It was a decent distance, but you don't notice it with the crowd like that. You're floating on air. So running along, everything seemed fine till now. Because we were so close to the 11-hour cutoff, they divided the finish in 2. So they had it set up half for the Vic Claphams, who were coming very soon behind us, and then the dregs of the bronze medalists, of which I was one, on the other side. So we've got half the finish area to go through, and a lot of runners coming in for 11 hours. Now, some of these runners are stopping when they cross the line. So I actually got about 2 metres from the finish, and I stopped. I couldn't go forward. Now, I looked at my watch. I had a bit over 80 seconds to go to 2 metres. And I guess as being an experienced runner, you can be a bit calmer. Looked at that, well, I can go 2 metres in 80 seconds. I don't need to panic at this point, do anything insane and create a riot. It should open up, and then I'll be able to cross the line. And sure enough, that's exactly what happened. And I crossed the line with 80 seconds to spare. Now, do you remember I said before about the 100 seconds I'd saved from cutting the corners and not sticking in my lane? Well, that's what got me one of these, a Comrades bronze medal. And I was so proud. My mate, Dean was over in South Africa with his wife. He was not feeling, he'd finished before me, but wasn't feeling great. So she'd actually come to the finish, saw on the track where I was coming through, and saw me come around and come to the finish and found me and took me into the international area. Obviously, I was not feeling the best, but, just over the moon to have done this and finished in this time. What an incredible achievement. So there you go. I seem to be now the cut-off king. I don't know why. Maybe there's something wrong with me, but I at least managed to make the cut-offs. Thanks for watching.